Idaho Falls Pediatrics, proudly supporting kids in our community and 7 questions with Emmy.
My grandpa's a big fan of your show.
All right. Tell him I said hello.
I will. Let's get started with the interview.
Sounds good.
Welcome back to 7 Questions with Emmy. If you've ever watched Pawn Stars on the History Channel, you've seen my guest today. Chumlee has been working for the Gold and Silver Pawn Shop in Las Vegas since he was 21, has been on the popular Pawn Stars show since 2009. Chumlee, thanks for chatting with me today.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for having me as a guest.
Question number 1. How has your life changed since Pawn Stars started?
All the normal stuff you could imagine. When we first started, we were really popular, and it was hard to do your normal day-to-day tasks, like go to the grocery store and stuff like that. Fast forwarded to 13 years later, I got my life back to a normal track. So I live a pretty normal life. Obviously, my work schedule is a little different than your typical 9 to 5. And I have to try to be funny every day, which is pretty easy for me to do. So, I mean, my life is, it hasn't changed too much, but it has changed a lot. As you mentioned yourself, I was very young, 21 or 22 when we first started. And, I just turned 39 a few weeks ago. So supposedly I've grown up, but I don't know if I truly have yet.
What's the weirdest thing anyone has brought into the pawn shop?
So we get a lot of weird stuff, but what I think are some of the weirdest things is like the medical quackery that we get. Like, the early 1900s, there would be like a salesman going around city to city trying to sell you like a light that you could put on top of your head and make your hair grow, or you could sit in the light for hours and it would get rid of ailments and things like that. And also they would be selling things like they would call it snake oil. It would supposedly be a medicine that you could take for a cough. It could get rid of pimples. It could cure headaches. And usually they didn't work, but they're always really funny and they're always really, really weird. So I actually enjoy filming with that kind of stuff because, to think in a time someone was driving around on a horse and selling this stuff town to town, city to city, and most people believed it worked. We didn't know better at the time.
My mom and me, before this, we watched the one where you got the giant teddy bear.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah. I heard you like pinball machines and video games. My brother likes those things too. How many do you personally own?
So as far as video games go, I just usually play the PlayStation. I have a few video games there, but I don't have any big video games at my house. I used to have a basketball game, 2 pinball machines, and a big arcade with 100 games on it. But once I moved into my new house, I got rid of all that stuff and sold it. And I didn't have room for video games anymore. So now when I want to play pinball, I just go over to Rick's house because he has 3 of them in his garage.
What's the most valuable item someone has brought into the pawn shop?
So we've had quite a few valuable things. We've had a guitar for like $100,000, and we've had some samurai swords and stuff like that up in the 20,000s and things. But the most valuable things that people bring in will be big, huge bars of gold. Like $200,000 worth of gold. It's just like, it's a big bar. It's so heavy you can barely pick it up, and it takes 2 hands to pick it up. And that's probably the most expensive thing that we get on a day-to-day basis. I think Rick's bought a couple things for like close to $1 million or several $100,000. I'm not exactly sure what they are because I'm not here for everything and I don't keep track of everything. But personally, the most expensive thing I bought was a bar of gold. I know Rick has bought some much more expensive stuff. I did spend $20,000 on a record collection a couple years ago, and that was on the show. So that was a lot of money for some records.
Yeah. Can you tell me about your candy shop and what's your favorite candy?
Oh, I got to pick a favorite candy. I love them all.
Mm.
So I have a candy shop, Chumlee's Candy on the Boulevard, and my younger brother runs it for me. And it's basically in the parking lot of the pawn shop. Next door to the pawn shop, Rick had built a container, a shipping container plaza with a few stores in it. And Rick has a barbecue, Rick's Rolling Smoke Barbecue. And right next to Rick's Barbecue is Chumlee's Candy on the Boulevard. It's a very small candy shop with some old candies. Usually, you know, when COVID's not around, I will stay in the candy shop and I will meet all my fans and everyone who wants to come in. I usually spend 2 to 3 hours a day there, Monday through Friday, and on the weekends too, if I'm in town. My favorite candy, though, is one made of pure sugar. I absolutely love bottle caps. I don't know if you've ever.
I love bottle caps.
Those are my favorite. That's my weakness. If I'm doing a 4-hour drive or if I'm going on a plane ride, I have to have bottle caps with me. No questions asked.
Yeah, bottle caps are good.
Yeah, there's nothing like bottle caps.
When you were my age, what did you want to be when you grew up?
Oh, when I was your age, I thought I wanted to be a rock star, but you know, I didn't know if I had the voice for it. So luckily enough, I was able to find my niche right here on Pawn Stars, and I'm happy to be making people laugh.
Can you share a lesson you've learned in your life that might help me and others watching?
So I have a motto in life. It's to be kind, you know, not to let negative things affect you, always to think positive and move forward. And, you know, there's a lot of life lessons you can learn on your own, but I think for me personally, I like to learn from other people's mistakes. So one of the things I always do is I listen to people who are much smarter than me in areas that I don't know about. And, you know, I always stay positive. And if something bothers me, I take a few minutes out and I go in a room by myself, you know, count to 10, count to 100, whatever I need to do to get those negative thoughts out of my head and go remain positive for the rest of the day. I would think there's many life lessons you can learn in life, but they're all going to be easier if you can stay positive, and it's much easier to be happy if you're positive. So I think it's very important to, you know, stay positive in all situations. Even though it's not always easy, it helps you be the best person that you can be.
Thank you so much for talking with me today, Chumlee.
It was my pleasure, and I hope you get to come visit the candy shop very soon, and I'll give you a tour of the pawn shop too. Well, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Tell everybody I said hi.
I'll tell them all. If they were here right now, I'd let you tell them yourself, but Rick's not back from LA yet, and Corey isn't in. Tell Grandpa I said hi. I love you guys, and thanks for having me on.
Idaho Falls Pediatrics, proudly supporting kids in our community, and 7 questions with Emmy.